So I saw that this was about an aging jockey, and it starred Clifton Collins Jr. And I was like, aging jockey? Isn't he like the same age as me? This dude came up in teen movies around the same time I was in. He was playing a high schooler when I was in high school. He was in Light It Up. I remember him. And then I looked at his age, and I was like, oh my god, he is old. I had no idea he was 51. I mean, I suppose, like, in the grand scheme of things, not old. But, yeah, wow. Yeah, he definitely was not a high schooler when he was in Light It Up. That's for sure. Hi, I'm Mac from MacTheMovieGuy.com, and this is a review of Jockey. In case you have no idea what that is, it's a movie. There's a movie called Jockey, and it just really did not get a good release. And Clifton Collins Jr., unfortunately, as much as he tried to get himself an Oscar nomination, just couldn't make it happen because nobody had seen the film. But I've seen it now. Can't do anything about his Oscar nomination, though. I am a blind film critic. I don't think that really matters here, but it does mean we're going to talk about audio description. So what's Jockey? What did you miss out on? So Clifton Collins Jr. pretty much carries this entire film. It's centered around him. He's an aging jockey. Film's slightly over an hour and a half long. He's bruised and broken and, close to that, like, last ride, but he also wants to go out on a high note, so he really wants to kind of, if he could get that, like, one last championship, like, that would be great. But he's sort of upended in his process by this young jockey that's coming up on him, played by Moses Arias, and that claims to be his son, long lost son from a hookup many years ago. And at first he rejects the idea, and slowly the two of them form this sort of mentorship bond. He thinks about, what could have been. It's a very meditative drama, sort of on life. I can sort of understand why this didn't make the cut in terms of like a wide theatrical release. I don't know that this has mass appeal, but this is exactly the kind of thing that if you had sold it to a streaming service, it probably would have dropped as like one of their major releases. Like Netflix would have eaten this up. This would have gotten at least the amount of attention that The Lost Daughter got. This is, in my opinion, a better film than The Lost Daughter. I thought The Lost Daughter was a difficult watch, elevated by Olivia Colman. I think if a different actress had been in that film, we would have had different results with that film. But Olivia Colman is just that good. But here, Clifton Collins Jr. is in a film with a better script. And absolutely the entire weight is on his shoulders. He has to portray aging jockey. And like I said, the whole time, because I didn't check his age until after the film, because I wanted to just sort of sit in the performance, and I was blown away. I was like, 51? I was expecting him to be like in his like early 40s, and I was going to be like, okay. I mean, people kind of age out of sports in their early 40s, right? You stop playing basketball and football in your early 40s, right? I mean, Tom Brady almost retired. He's in his like early 40s. So that sort of makes sense. So when I found out he was 51, I was like, oh, well, okay, now I buy it. But before, I thought it was a little bit of a stretch, and he made me feel really old. I was like, damn, are you saying that I would be too old to be a jockey? Because I thought we were about the same age. And then I realized, no, he's over 10 years older than I am. So by all means, sir, you do you. But he's been doing great work in films before. He is consistently an underrated actor. Unfortunately, he's also an actor a little bit like Tim Blake Nelson. I had the same problem with when Old Henry got passed over. We have these great character actors, and we're so, like, we're so enthralled by the same subset of actors that when somebody steps up and they're given a film, and they're not usually an actor that anybody bases an entire film around, and then we just kind of tell them to fuck off by not nominating them, but they're tremendous, and then we just talk about how great they are and how they've never been nominated, it's really obnoxious. Yes, Denzel Washington is a great actor. No, Tragedy of Macbeth is not his best performance. He did not need an Oscar nomination. Yes, Javier Bardem is a terrific actor. No, Being the Ricardos is not his best performance. You know, it would have been far more interesting to see Tim Blake Nelson nominated for Old Henry and to see Clifton Collins Jr. nominated for Jockey. Like, wow. What an inspirational story to see two people who have been in the business for so many years actually getting their due for two really great meditative dramas where they totally anchor the performance. Both of them are about sort of aging out of the greatness that you used to be. They're very similar in nature, except Old Henry just is slightly more of an action Western. And this is slightly more of a sports drama, although there isn't a whole lot of racing. There's a little bit. So yeah, I cheer on character actors all the time. I was really hoping that Ann Dowd would be, recognized for Mass, but she wasn't. So it just gets really frustrating. And Peter Dinklage for Cyrano. But we just keep nominating the same people, and they just keep racking up Oscar nominations. And it's like, be original, guys. Can you just nominate something else? Do you guys watch any other movies with any other actors? Stop telling all these character actors how good they are, and then when they actually have an opportunity to stand out, you're like, nah, let's nominate this other person for the 8th time. Whatever. So, yeah. Obviously, that's how I feel about that. I have very strong feelings about that. He's fantastic in this film. It's such a shame that more people haven't seen this film. As far as the audio description goes, I liked the narrator. I'm interested. I think this is the first time because I didn't recognize the name. But then again, there's a lot of TV shows that don't ever give credit to their narrators, so I can't actually say with 100% certainty the first time for this. But Leilani something, I already forgot her name. I'm so sorry. Yeah, I thought she did a good job. I think the narration was a little underdone. It was a little underwritten. Sometimes I think about me as hey, I used to be able to see, and I watched a lot of movies before, and I know what some of these actors look like. So for me, when I sit down and I listen to a film, I can actually start piecing together what this film would look like, and I can play it out in my head, sort of like if I was directing the film. And I kind of wonder sometimes when the audio description isn't there, for somebody who's never been able to see, how many gaps are being filled in. Like when you think about the shots and rooms and characters and what they're wearing and the descriptions, I feel like that was lacking a little bit here. There's a lot of necessity description in terms of people walking in and talking to and looking at, and a lot of Clifton Collins Jr.'s facial expressions are put into this film, and a lot of focus on his performance, but there's not a lot of focus on sort of like the ensemble cast. There really are like 3 recognizable actors here. There's Clifton Collins Jr., Moses Arias, and Molly Parker, and then there's a bunch of other people who, when I saw the credits, I'm pretty certain all of the jockeys are real jockeys. They were not good of actors. And they felt totally real. They felt like it felt like Clifton Collins Jr. walked into a room like a therapy meeting of jockeys. And I think that's what happened. And I noticed there were so many characters that were listed that shared like the name of the actor was also the first name of like the character. They just changed like the last name. So I think a lot of people, they went for realism here, and they went and they got real people, but I just thought the description of the ensemble was lacking. We didn't get a whole lot of those people and what they looked like, and what their presentation was, and what the rooms were like, and a lot of the setup, and the little bit of racing that we got. Sort of like also just sort of like horses were just horses. I don't know. It just, I feel like there could have been more here. There are plenty of moments where there aren't dialogue, where he just likes to sort of sit and meditate. And that gives time to sort of describe the world around him, you know? He's not the most talkative individual. I mean, there's dialogue in this film. This is not Nomadland, where they just sit for long periods of time and stare out into nothingness. But it is sort of a meditative drama, in that he does have lots of thoughts and lots of pondering that he has to do, which gives you a lot of time to fill in those gaps. And I just feel like it was sufficient description, but I don't know that it was great description. I always feel like that this could be better. I ended up directing the movie in my mind, I guess is what I'm saying. Like, I filled in the gaps, and I was realizing that I was doing it without necessarily being given details as to where I was, what it looked like, who these people were, and who they looked like. So, yeah, very interesting. But I think the film is really pretty good. I don't know that I would have ran it for Best Picture, but this should have been able to go somewhere based on the strength of Clifton Collins' performance. Would have been nice to see him at least come a little bit closer than he did. You know, pick up some sort of nomination, at least be recognized by the Screen Actors Guild for his, you know, considering how long he's been in the Screen Actors Guild. But unfortunately, no. So this is going to be one of those films where maybe a couple more people will watch it, and they'll just see it on streaming, and they won't know what it is, which is a shame. So if you get a chance to watch Jockey, I watched it on demand. I'm sure it'll hit a streaming service sooner or later. I'm sure it'll be somewhere. So just give it a chance. If for nothing else, Clifton Collins Jr. is really good in it. So, and he's been really good in many things and deserves that level of recognition. So, I'm going to go ahead and give Jockey an A-. Yeah, I thought it was good. And that's almost entirely based off of Clifton Collins Jr.'s performance. The film is pretty simple. It just requires and leans on him a lot. The story is simple. The minus is mainly for the fact that I didn't even read the plot of the film, and I knew where this father-son storyline was going from beginning to end. Like, I saw the whole thing. I saw the whole story arc telegraphed to me. Either I've watched too many movies, but I knew where that story was going to begin and where it was going to end. And I was right. So, yeah. So the predictability factor of that storyline took away from me. But otherwise, it's a great performance. So, Mazel tov to Clifton Collins Jr. I don't know what else to say. Sorry you didn't get an Oscar nomination. Go watch the film. Let me know what you think in the comments. As always, please like and subscribe so that you can get more of my thoughts on films and their audio description. You can visit MacTheMovieGuy.com for more written reviews from me, and always check out the audio description project when you're trying to figure out what audio description needs you may or may not have. All right. I think that wraps it up. So like a jockey at the end of the day, I'm going to ride off into the sunset. I just don't have a horse, so I'm just going to stop the video. This is awkward for both of us.